What's happening? Welcome in. Been a couple weeks since we last saw one another. I'm Jason Priester, allClemsonTigers.com, part of the Clemson Maven multimedia platform. And this is Monday live. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. July 19th, our next big show on location. Stay tuned for details for that. Last time we talked, we talked a lot about Clemson still waiting on that first offensive lineman commit. Here we are 2 weeks later, still waiting. July the 4th, a year ago. So a year ago tomorrow, Clemson had all three of their offensive linemen locked up. They have yet to get one in this class. So it's playing out a little bit slower. If you watched my little video I did yesterday, I kind of touched on a couple of those guys. I've kind of had Ronan O'Connell pegged to Tennessee for weeks now. Talked with a source Saturday night that told me that might have been a little premature. That might not play out quite that way. O'Connell's going to announce tomorrow, 2:00, Clemson, Tennessee. He also visited Wisconsin. William Satterwhite, a guy I think Clemson's been in good shape with for a long time. He's going to announce on Friday, I think it is. Fletcher Westfall's got an announcement coming up on the 10th. You hit up on all three of them. You hit on all three of those guys. You're in excellent position. Big if. I'm not sure they're going to hit on all three. I feel, based on some conversations I've had today, I feel really good. I feel really good about Clemson's chances with O'Connell. I'll leave it at that. I feel really good about their chances with him. I'm not quite saying it's a lock yet, but I feel really good. Satterwhite, I'm not feeling as confident as I was 2 weeks ago last time we were here. Sometimes it pays to get that last visit, and it might pay off for Tennessee getting that last visit. Clemson, Tennessee, the only two schools he visited. We'll see. We'll see, but I don't get a good feeling on that one. And Fletcher Westfall, Clemson, Florida, Georgia, Arkansas. I've had one person tell me Arkansas might be in it more than I thought. Not sure I'm buying that. Georgia's got some guys higher on the board, and they're taking a ton of offensive linemen in this class anyways. I think it's coming down to Clemson and Florida, and I still really like the way Clemson positioned themselves with him. I go back to a conversation I had with him right after the official visit weekend, and I just had a good feeling coming off of that conversation. Before he'd ever taken any visits anywhere else, he just seems like the perfect cultural fit for what Clemson stands for. You get two out of those three, and Brady says it here, 2 out of 3. You get 2 out of those 3. I think that's a win. All things considered. Maybe not everybody would agree with that, but 2 out of 3, I would consider that a win at this point. The way things started. Jamison Riggs, and that's a guy I just don't have any feel for at all. I have no idea the way that thing's going to play out. I would probably take the field over Clemson's chances, though. Clemson, Auburn, Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech's probably in it more than people realize. We'll see. Do I reckon we will get Satterwhite? I I'm not getting a good feeling on Satterwhite. I touched on that just a minute ago. I have felt really confident in Clemson's chances on getting him up until this weekend. Touching base with some people over the weekend, I think it's going to end up benefiting Tennessee that they got that last visit. And sometimes that's the way it works out. Clemson, it's a chance you take when you want to get the first one with most of these guys. You know that's a chance you're taking. And last I heard, he had not told the coaching staffs of any decision. So we'll see, unless he's done that late today. Or, last I heard, he hadn't done that. So we'll see on Satterwhite, but I'm not getting the warm and fuzzies about him at this point. It kind of sounds like a trade-off from where we were 2 weeks ago. Instead of getting Satterwhite, you get O'Connell. Two good players. Satterwhite probably comes in a little bit more polished, a little bit more ready. But, man, if you watch O'Connell's film, that's a nasty dude, man. He's got that nasty streak you like to see in offensive linemen. Yeah, Brady, there's a reason I didn't even mention Casey Poe. I'm not even tracking him anymore. I think that's done and over with, and he's Bama bound. Any idea on how soon Mike Matthews might announce? I could see him announcing in July at some time. I could also see it stretching out longer. So I don't know. Nobody knows at this time. We're just gonna have it's very rare these days that you get a true, genuine surprise in recruitments anymore. This might be one of those times where you get one. Because they are doing an excellent job of keeping those things bottled up and playing things very close to the vest. I got a feeling it's going to be over by the end of the month, though. Just going to have to see. I do think it's Clemson, Tennessee. As you see, there are a lot of these battles coming down to Clemson, Tennessee. Just going to have to, see how it plays out. Corey and Gibson. I'm going to tell you, the longer this thing plays out, the less – I have always thought Gibson was going to end up being a part of Clemson's class. Thought they had a chance to lock him up at the spring game. Didn't happen. Thought they had a chance to lock him up that first weekend in June. Didn't happen. There's always been something that held him back, whatever it is. I do know there are people in his camp, maybe even family members, that would prefer him at Clemson. Now, whether that wins out at the end of the day, I'm not sure. The longer this thing plays out, though, the less I like Clemson's chances. Still think I think it's a toss-up right now. 50-50 is where I would put it. There, he's got people in his ear pushing him towards Texas. They've targeted some of his friends, trying to get him on board. And to me, Gibson's one of the best corners in this class. So, just going to keep the pedal to the metal with him and see what happens. If it stretches out for Matthews, who does it benefit? If it stretches out for Matthews, I think you'll see him take more visits to other schools he has not visited yet. So I'm not sure it benefits anybody, to be quite honest, except, him. I'm not sure it stretching out helps Clemson or Tennessee. I really do think he's getting towards the end. He's just not officially put out an announcement date yet. I think they're ready to wrap that thing up. He's also been to USC. I forget his other visits off the top of my head, but still think it's Georgia was one. Still think it's coming down to Clemson and Tennessee, though. But if it stretches out further, I'm not sure it benefits either one more so than the other. Both schools are going to wait on him. He's that type of guy. Nobody's going to move on from him until he tells them, where he's going. And if he stretches it out, I think he'll be stretching it out to take more visits. Dante Stewart. No, Clemson did not offer Dante Stewart, who looks to be Ohio State bound. To the dismay of those there in the Midlands. I think they thought they had him locked up. If Ohio State ends up with Stewart and Edric Houston, geez, man, what talking about a haul at defensive line. But no, wait a minute. Who even? Clemson never offered him. I can't give you a specific reason as to why. Let's just say they are after the exact right fits, and if they don't think you fit, he might not have shown any interest in him. He's not a guy I've ever really Dylan Stewart. I think I said Dante, but he's not a guy I've ever really tracked. So I have not done very much digging into him at all. But if he ends up at Ohio State and Houston ends up at Ohio State, that's going to be a hell of a haul. Hell of a haul. Any surprises left for the 2024 class? I don't think any real surprises. I mean, you know who they're after. We know who the targets are. There's not going to be some high-profile target added to the list here late. Not buying any of the DJ Lagway flip to Clemson talk, man. That's all smoke. Matter of fact, I talked to Blake Hebert today for a little while. He's been told Clemson's not going to take a 2024 quarterback, and they're only taking one in 2025. And the Clemson coach staff typically keeps to their word on those kind of things. So we'll see. But as far as surprises, I mean, I just don't think there are any surprise names. We don't get those kind of surprises anymore. It's just too much of a spotlight on recruiting these days. Jesus, did y'all hear that? But yeah, we don't get too many of those kind of surprises these days. Again, we kind of know who the targets are, and the only mystery left is where those guys end up. Clemson still needs another corner. They need another defensive end. They need the 3 offensive linemen. I could see them taking a 4th if they could find a guy they liked. I could see them adding another linebacker if they found one they liked. And I could see them adding another defensive back if they found one they liked. Say, for instance, KJ Bolden, he'd have been a take even though they already had their 2 safeties on the board. But Clemson's not even a finalist for him. I'm just giving you an example. And obviously you wait on Mike Matthews. When is the all-in cookout? We are now in a dead period. Dead period lasts all the way into the last week of July. It opens back up on that Monday, so the cookout's going to be on that weekend. It's just a matter of if it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday type deal or just a one-day type event. I've heard whispers that it might just be that Friday night and maybe early. I think stay over until Saturday. We'll see, but it's going to be that last weekend in July. That's the only time they can have it. The dude, my man. Appreciate you too, brother. What do the new pair of shades pertain to? No names, no hints. It's just if you haven't heard me talk about him before, it's something, I used to do projections on the website. I throw a projection up on this guy or that guy, and there wasn't a whole lot of fun in that. And I was trying to think of something to have a little bit of fun with recruiting, man. So I kind of started throwing the shades out when I thought something was coming. And, I do them a little bit differently than I did the projections. Projections a lot of times was me guessing. It was back before I had the kind of sources I do now. It was when I was still relatively new to the recruiting world. But I started doing the shades. Matter of fact, just about a little over a year ago, in June of last year. And I wish I would have kept count of how many I've thrown out and stuff so I could keep a running tally, but I didn't. Because, again, I did it just for fun. I didn't know it was going to catch on the way I did. I see somebody's even made a meme of me now. But, it's just means I think something's coming. And it's not a projection. It's not a guess. It's something that is based on talking to sources, those kind of things. I do keep track of them. I don't keep a track of how many, but I keep track of each one I put out now and what time they go out and what day. So I know if there's more than one pair out at a time. But there's only one pair out there right now. I know who they belong to. And I always tell at the end. Since I've been doing it, I've gotten one wrong. Walker White, when he committed to Auburn, I threw a pair out for him. I jumped the gun on him a little bit and ended up getting him wrong. And I'm sure I will miss again at some point. It's not an exact science, especially right now. Some of these offensive linemen doesn't sound like they've really informed the coaching staff yet. Last I heard, O'Connell hadn't even informed the coaching staff yet, although I haven't talked to anybody since early today about that. But last I heard, Satterwhite hadn't informed the coaching staff yet. So it's proven to be a little bit more difficult with those guys. But that's what the shades are. That's what they pertain to. I get asked all the time, hey, offense, defense, wide receiver, offensive line. No hints. I'll just let you know when they come or when we reach the end with that guy. Because pretty much everybody knows what they mean now. Nah, man, you didn't put me on the spot. I don't mind explaining. I know not everybody knows exactly what they pertain to all the time. So, yes, that's the meme. I actually woke my wife up last night to show her that thing, man, and she about died. That was the meme. I think it said, honey, wake up, Priester just dropped. I got a kick out of that. Yeah, we had a fun time doing the live show, Jermaine. The next one's going to be July the 19th. We'll release more details when we get them firmed up. Matter of fact, we still had the football. We didn't give it away. We had a little snafu mix up with the business there where we were at, so we agreed to hold on to it to the next show. So we still got that to give away at the next one. But it's going to be on July the 19th. I think it's going to be at 7 instead of 5 this time. And I'll let everybody know where it's going to be at. It might be at the same place. I'm not 100% sure yet. We have signed some stud backs in these past 2 classes. Which one are you expecting to dominate? Look, I like what Clemson's done at running back in the last 3 classes. But I think Gideon Davidson's on a whole other level, at least right now. David Ajamame, there's a lot to like about him, man. He's fast. He can run around the outside. He can run between the tackles. Hasn't had an opportunity to be the guy at his high school yet, though. We'll get a much better idea of where he's at during his senior season when he is the guy. But Gideon Davidson is a stone cold killer at running back, man. That kid, he is just, it's one of those things where you know it when you see it. And watching him work out at camp a couple of weeks ago, you just sit there, man, and after a minute, you got to pick your jaw up off the floor because he's so impressive. I think I've talked about it on here before that I've seen people criticize his hands, saying he needs to work on his receiving skills. Well, he showed off at camp. He's got some hands. He's got excellent field vision. He's got the speed. I think Clemson has really set themselves up well, in that running back room for the post Will Shipley, Phil Moffitt days, because I think they got a lot of value with the 2022 guys, 2023 guys, with Jarvis Green and Jay Haynes. Jay Haynes, I've said it plenty of times, he reminds me of Wayne Gallman. I'm not saying he's going to be what Wayne Gallman was, but he reminds me of him a little bit. And Jarvis Green, I think, was one of the more underrated backs in the 2023 class. Still one of the mysteries to me. But I think Clemson's set themselves up very nicely at running back. But to me, Gideon Davidson he's got the chance. He's got the potential to be special. And he is the epitome of what the coaching staff looks for in guys. He is probably the most humble high school recruit I've ever had a conversation with. Extremely down to earth, very intelligent, very smart, comes from a good family. The epitome of the team first guy is never about him, man. It's about the team. So I mean, if I got to pick one, I'm going with him. But I really like Ajamame. I think Jay Haynes and Jarvis Green can help his team. You got to have more than one. Are we still in it for Alex Taylor? I don't think Alex Taylor's a take anymore. I know he actually told me, I asked him after Wesco committed, and Braylon Staley came out and said that he was no longer, or Clemson was no longer an option for him. I reached out to Alex Taylor and asked him, was Clemson still an option for him? And he said, yeah, that they were very much still interested. I'm just not sure about that, man. I think somehow, some way, Clemson makes the effort to get to 3 at wide receiver. We're already seeing that with Mike Matthews, obviously. Say you miss on Matthews, I still think Clemson makes the effort to get to 3. Might not get to 3. I think they make the effort. For me, if Staley or Taylor wanted in, they were going to have to hold off on making the decisions after Wesco and TJ Moore jumped on board. And for them to do that, that is taking a big-time risk, because if you put off making a decision, then Mike Matthews commits to Clemson, then you're definitely no longer a take, and you might not have spots anywhere left by the time he gets ready. I'm just spitballing. I'm just speculating here. But at this time, no, I don't think Clemson's an option for Alex Taylor anymore. I have been tooting Alex Taylor's horn for ever since I watched this film the first time. I think he's going to be a really good wide receiver. But Bryant Wesco and TJ Moore, those are difference-making type of guys. They are those alpha dogs type receivers that Clemson's been missing in that wide receiver room. And while I think Alex Taylor would bring a level of physicality that's been missing out of that room, he doesn't have the speed that those guys have. And I know wide receiver plays about more than speed. I get all that. Route running is about a lot more than just speed. So is creating separation. But again, those guys are difference makers, man. Look up Bryant Wesco on Twitter. There's a highlight reel catch that he made a couple of days ago at some camp floating around on Twitter right now. That shows you what type of athlete you're getting with Wesco. I think those are plug-and-play receivers. As much as I like Taylor, I'm not sure he's a plug-and-play type guy. I think he's got a high ceiling. I'm not sure he is a plug-and-play type guy. Could they take Taylor as an athlete if they miss on Matthews? Nah. You know, if you sign Matthews as an athlete, you're basically oversigning. And again, as much as I like Taylor, he's not an oversign guy. Maybe Cam Coleman is, but I think if you get Matthews, you're done. I think Coleman's no longer an option. I'm not. I don't even hear anything about Cam Coleman anymore. I don't even track him anymore. So I mean, that tells you how much I think Clemson's still after him and how much he's still interested in Clemson at this point. He's a guy that's going to take his well into the fall. They could always circle back if they decided to do that. We'll see. Yeah, I think Cam Coleman's probably Auburn bound too. Who is one offensive freshman this year that you would think will have a huge impact? That's a good one. Freshman on the offensive side of the ball. You know what? 6 months ago, I would have said Noble Johnson. But after watching him in the spring and seeing him in the spring game, I still really like him. Don't get me wrong. Let me start off by saying that. I think he's going to be really good. But he might be one of those guys that needs a year. I think Tyler Brown can help this team this year. He is twitchy. He is blazing fast. I think don't hold me to this, but I want to say he's under 6 foot tall and he's dunking basketballs, man. So he's got some hops. Smaller guy is excellent in the open field. So I think he's a guy that can help Clemson on the offensive side of the ball. I think Vizina's probably headed for a red shirt, barring something crazy happening. Again, I think Johnson's going to need a year. The wild card in this is Ronan Hannafin. We'll see where he's at when he gets here. It would have been very good for Clemson had he been able to enroll early because I think he is a guy that gets overlooked a lot in that recruiting class, and he's a talented dude, big guy. There's a lot to like about him, so we'll see where he's at when he gets here. But I think if I got to go with one right now, I'm going with Tyler Brown. Any freshman defensive backs you think will get any playing time early? Oh, man. If we're talking defensive backs, I'm going with Khalil Barnes. I think that guy's going to play a lot. He looks ready. During the spring, he looked ready to roll. He did not resemble a freshman. I think he is going to have an impact on the back end of that defense this season. Maybe not be a starter, but he's going to play. He's going to play a lot. It's going to be hard to keep him off the field. I think he's going to be that good. So give me Khalil Barnes. Yeah, here. Daniel saw the same Wesco catch I saw on Twitter. Nasty. Exactly. It was, man, just showing off that athleticism, going up and getting that one-handed grab. Again, I just think him, Wesco and TJ Moore have the potential to be what Clemson has been missing in that wide receiver room. I still think Adam Randall's got that potential too. So I'm not going to – we'll see now that he's fully healthy. But I think he's got that alpha dog in him too. Does the cornerback board expand if Gibson goes to Texas? That might depend on Ashton Hampton and what happens with him, because I know they're kind of staying in on him a little bit. But my answer would be probably the cornerback board is going to have to expand because they want to take one more. And if you miss on Gibson, that they backed off Emilio Argard a long time ago, and he's committed to Wisconsin now. I think most teams backed off him, to be honest. They've kind of zeroed in on Gibson, and he's been the guy here for a while now. But yeah, they'll probably have to identify some new targets at corner, or at least a new target at corner if they miss on Gibson. I still, I'm not ready to say he's Texas bound just yet. A week ago, I was saying that I was confident he's going to be part of this class of Clemson's. I'm not quite as confident as that now. Still think it's a toss-up. Texas has done an excellent job of recruiting him. There's just no getting around that. They have played this thing perfectly. Sark's involved, and they get him up there for his official visit during his birthday weekend and play that angle up and taking some of his friends. And so, I mean, they have really, really recruited him very well. Do I think Adam Randall takes off this year? I think he's a special dude. We got dudes in the wide receiver room, just need them to stay healthy. I tend to agree with that. I think I'm pretty familiar with Adam Randall because he's from the area I live in. I've watched him play in his high school career there at Myrtle Beach. And I think he's got the potential to be an elite wide receiver. He's just got to stay healthy. I think Bo Collins has the potential to be elite. He's got to stay healthy and he's got to want it, but I think he's got the potential. Other than that, there are some young guys in that room that I really like. Again, I like Noble Johnson. It'll be interesting to see if Troy Stellato can stay healthy because he was probably one of the faster guys on the team for the injuries. Not sure how much those have, had what kind of impact those injuries have had on his speed. It's going to be interesting to see where he is come fall camp. But and golly, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Cole Turner. I think he's going to help the team this year. I think he can, make some plays for you. But as far as the two top dogs, and obviously Antonio Williams, you know what you got in him, and I think he's going to take a big jump from his freshman season. Players tend to take their biggest jumps between the first and second year, and I think he's going to do that. But I do. I think Adam Randall has the potential to be elite. I still think Bo Collins can be elite. He's just got to want it, and obviously he's got to stay healthy. He's got the tools. He's got the talent. Does he have the mentality? To me, that's the big question. Is Chris Vezina pushing Cade, or is Cade by far the dude? Cade's by far the dude. I think Vezina's headed for a red shirt. I said for a long time that I thought that Vezina was not nearly as polished as Klubnik was coming out of high school, and that's what I saw during the spring. He's got the tools, he's got the intangibles, he's got all those things you like in a quarterback. He's just raw, man. He's just going to need some time to develop. If Klubnik gets hurt and you need Vezina starting games for you, I think Clemson's in trouble, man. It'd be interesting to see. Let's say Klubnik gets knocked out of a game. It's going to be very interesting to see who comes off the bench. Is it Hunter Helms, Paul Tyson, or even Vezina? They want to redshirt Vezina. That's what they want to do. And he's on board with that. He's okay with it. He knows that's the plan. But it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out at that backup quarterback spot. I don't think Vezina's ready to be that guy in year one. Thinking the exact same thing with Tyler Brown. He's twitchy and fast. Two qualities Clemson has been missing that receiver. They have definitely been missing some speed and twitchiness, no doubt about it. As good as Antonio Williams is, he's not a burner. I know he didn't really look like it last year, but Adam Randall's faster than what he looked like on the field last year. Again, it'll be interesting to see where Troy Stellato is because he was a speedy guy coming out of high school. But yeah, Clemson's definitely missed some speed, and that's a big part of why getting Wesco and Moore on board, why they are such big gets, because everybody knows how fast Wesco is, and I think TJ Moore is faster than a lot of people realize too. That guy can move, man. He is fast. Still like Clemson to get Houston if he comes to the cookout. Clemson can close the deal. It'll be interesting to see if they can get him back to the cookout. Obviously, he's not planning to make an announcement till August 22nd. The question then becomes, when does he make a decision? Is he already decided by the time the cookout rolls around? Because if he's already decided, obviously he's not going to come. If he's still undecided and you can get him back on campus for the cookout, that would be big. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but you obviously make that effort to make it happen because that's the guy at the top of the board at defensive end, has been from the jump. As much as I love Darian Mayo, Edric Houston was the guy from Jump Street. Clemson's been in on him a long time. I really had a good feeling about Clemson's chances with him coming into the summer and what's going into these officials and stuff. I'm sure y'all have heard me talk about that before, but if you listen to the national recruiting guys, he's kind of leaning towards Ohio State, and they ain't always right, but they are a lot of the time. They're very plugged in. They got a lot of sources, far more than I have. We'll see. We'll see if they can get him back. That would absolutely be ideal, though, if you could get him back on campus for the cookout. I'm not sure it's going to happen, but you definitely would make the effort. Can Green or Haynes push for the running back 3 spot? I'm not sure because neither one enrolled early. So it's going to be a lot to learn in a short amount of time, just in 15 practices in fall camp. And you've got Keith Adams, who's been here a year now and another spring. So I'm not sure. I think if Clemson had their preference, one of those guys would redshirt, maybe even both of them, because you would have Shipley, Maffa, Dominique Thomas, who I think is going to be the guy behind those, and then behind Shipley and Maffa, and then Keith Adams Jr. gives you a stable of 4 backs. I think those guys are probably heading for a redshirt year. But we'll see. Defense is getting a lot of preseason hype. Am I buying or selling? I'm buying. I think Wes Goodwin is going to take kind of like I talked about a minute ago, players make this big jump between their freshman seasons and sophomore seasons. I think we're going to see that with Wes Goodwin and this defense. He's had an entire offense to see, off season to see maybe where he needed to improve some or whatever. And he's had an entire year to settle in and acclimate and all that good stuff. I think this is a big season upcoming for this defense. That defensive line, barring a bunch of injuries, is going to be nasty. And you got those linebackers, man. That is, in my opinion, the best duo of linebackers in the country, and Trotter and Barrett Carter. And I think the secondary is going to be much improved. Keep Andrew Makuba healthy, keep him as safety. Hopefully he comes in a little heavier than he did last year. I think R.J. Mickens is vastly undervalued on the back end of that defense, and I think Nate Wiggins is going to have the kind of season that propels him into the NFL draft next year, where he leaves a year early. I think he's got the potential to be that good. So yeah, I do. I think I'm buying. I think this defense is going to be nasty. I think they've got a chip on their shoulder. They know that they did not live up to the preseason hype this year, and I think they want to prove that it was a fluke or whatever you want to call it. That's not who they are. What is this about DJ Lagway flipping to Clemson? Not buying it. Not one little tiny bit. I've been seeing that talk since Mother's Day. That's when it started. He tweeted out a photo of him and his mother together, and he was in a Clemson uniform. And Florida fans went crazy. And, rightfully so. I get it. I see why they were going crazy. But I think that ship has sailed. I'm not even sure. I'm not even sure Lagway's going to decommit to begin with. Maybe he does. But if he flips to somewhere, I don't think it's going to be to Clemson. Again, I talked to Blake Hebert this morning, 2025 quarterback commitment, and he's been told Clemson's not taking a quarterback in 2024, and they're only taking one in 2025. And this is a coaching staff that doesn't spew BS to players just to get them on board. They're usually very transparent. I know circumstances change and things can change, but as far as this specific example, I'm not buying it one little bit. I just don't see it. How much better do you think the secondary is going to be? Mickens seems ready to go off. Can't let guys get wide open this year. Look, I think the secondary is going to be much improved. I think Andrew Makuba was playing a lot more hurt than most realized last year. Multiple injuries. I even thought he came in a little light compared to what he weighed during his freshman season. And playing him out of position over there at corner didn't help either. I think you're going to see him back at safety this year again. I think Nate Wiggins is on the cusp of a big-time breakout season. We saw it over the back half of last season what that guy's capable of. Said it a minute ago, I think R.J. Mickens is one of the more underrated guys on the back end of that defense. And I think Khalil Barnes is going to play a big part in that secondary. And I think Jaden Lucas is too. Once he's going to be healthy, I think he's going to be in the rotation. And I think Pride's going to take a big jump. Those are they're typical Mike Reed guys, long, athletic. Clemson's deep at corner if they can keep those guys healthy. And they're deep at safety too. So, yeah, I think the pass defense, I think you'll see a vast improvement in those numbers this year. Because Mike Reed, there's a reason George has tried to poach that guy on multiple occasions because he's the best cornerback coach in the country. And not counting last year, but if you go back to 2021 and 2020, maybe the year before that, I can't remember. My memory sucks now, but I thought the safeties have been playing well under Mickey Conn for the most part. Maybe not so much last year, but for the most part, overall, I think safety play has been pretty solid under him, and I think it's going to be good again this year. Just got to keep those guys healthy, man. You need Makuba healthy. You definitely need Nate Wiggins healthy, which, he's not had injury problems or anything, but you just got to – Clemson's had crappy luck on the injury front in the past 2 years. Those years with all the playoff appearances, man, they were very fortunate on the injury front. Didn't really sustain very many serious injuries at all. Now they've been hit with a bunch here in the past couple of years. Guys missing multiple games, key guys missing multiple games. multiple key guys missing the same games. I mean, it's had an impact, and they've got to find a way to keep those guys healthy. I think Makuba will turn to freshman form this year. Yeah, I do too. I think Makuba's going to have a big bounce back year. This could be a money year for him, man. If he plays well, he's another guy that could be gone after this year. He's got that kind of potential. Definitely can't have another season like last year. But again, I think he was playing a lot more banged up than many realized last year. He suffered through, I think, 3 different injuries, if I'm remembering that right. And again, playing out of position. But I think he's going to have a big-time bounce-back season. Quadzilla as running back 3. Yeah, I think Dominique Thomas is your third running back too. Defensive end is the one question on deep. I'll give you that. Clemson's not very deep at defensive end. If you cannot keep – if Xavier Thomas is not healthy this year, you're going to have to rely on guys. You're going to have to rely on some inexperienced guys, and you're going to have to rely on them anyways. But if you can't keep Xavier Thomas healthy, you're going to have to rely on them a lot. Clemson needs TJ Parker to step up and be ready to play day one. They would greatly benefit from one of those other freshmen stepping up and being ready to contribute this year. David Ajabi, AJ Hoffler. If I had to pick one, I'd probably lean more towards Hoffler. I saw him at camp a few weeks ago. He looks physically ready to play now. But neither one of those guys enrolled early. So it's going to be a lot to handle in a short amount of time. They need XT healthy, and they need Justin Mascol to take that final step. He's very good at setting the edge and playing against the run, but he needs to be a little bit better with his pass rushing. Who knows, man? Maybe we see him have one of those Kevin Dodd type seasons. But yeah, defensive end's the question. You got some guys there. You got to keep them healthy. I mean, it is what it is with XT. He's not been able to stay healthy. He's got to stay healthy this year. If he can't, I think that's a big time question mark for Clemson if he gets hurt and has to miss multiple games. TJ Parker looked really good in the spring game, but again, he's just a freshman, and you need Cade Denoff to take that next step. You need Zaire Patterson to take that first step. You need something from those guys this year. They've been here long enough now. It's time for them to start producing. But, yeah, I would definitely agree. Defensive end is the question on that side of the ball. How many commits in the month of July? Heck, you could have as many as 3, 4, 5, I don't know, 6 or 7. I tend to think it'd probably be in the 3 or 4 range. We'll see. If it's less than 3 or 4, you're expanding the board at a couple of position or 2 maybe. How is the depth at center? I think Clemson's okay at center, assuming Tristan Lee can come in and play left tackle, and you don't have to do a lot of movement around from what you did last year. You lead the same 4 guys in the same four spots from last year, putting them at center. And Linthicum's been in the program 2 years now. We're talking about a guy that was, I think he was the top center in the country coming out of high school. So he should be ready to contribute. You got Howard, who you could lean on in a pinch. So, I mean, you got 3 guys you could play there. And I think Ian Reed can play center. If you absolutely had to move a guy to center, I think Ian Reed's a candidate. So I think Clemson's okay at center. I think we're going to, if Putnam doesn't come back this year, Lincecum might be your starting center this year. So it's time for – he's been here what is he now? He's a redshirt sophomore, right? It's time for him to be ready, in my opinion. 2 years is enough, if you ask me. I get it. Some of those offensive linemen need 3. But if you're the number 1 player coming out of high school at your position, I don't think it's unreasonable to say you should be ready after your second year. I think XT stays healthy this year and has his money year fine. Or do I? You're asking me if I think that. I don't know. I hope he does, man, because he has really put into work. Not just this offseason, but he did. By all accounts, Xavier Thomas really, really started putting in the work going into last year. And then, the devastating injury, tried to come back probably a little bit too early, hurt the foot again, and got hurt again, had to have another surgery. But he is definitely putting into work, man. And talking about a kid that can't catch a break, he has not been able to catch a break, man. He is owed one. He is owed a little bit of luck. So I'm hoping he can stay healthy this year. As far as his money year, this is it. It's now or never. He doesn't have any more. This is his last season of eligibility, obviously. So he's got to do it now. May we see a little bit of Rook or Peter outside on an odd front? Absolutely. I think we're going to see 3-man fronts. Yes, sir. The only question for me is how often. But I think that's going to be part of it. That's a way you could get around being thin at defensive end, obviously. But, yeah, I think you're going to see Peter Woods lined up at end, whether it be a 3-man front, 4-man front. I think you can see Root lined up at end with 3-man fronts. I think we're going to see some of that this year. Absolutely. So somebody today, and I cannot remember who it was a mock draft that actually had Rook going late first round. So somebody thinks he's going to have a heck of a year. I think Lagway might be DJ Uyunglele Part 2. His footage from Elite 11 wasn't that impressive. He did not blow me away by his showing at the Elite 11. I'll say that. I wasn't blown away. There's a lot to like about his physical traits. But I don't think quarterback's a dire need in 2024. Never thought it was. Obviously, you don't like to have a gap there. But I never thought Clemson needed a big-time top 5, top 10 quarterback in 2024. You got 2 underclassmen, former 5-stars already on the roster. You get your guy in 2025, and you should be fine, and they've got that in Hebert. And the more I watch Hebert, and especially after talking to that kid today, the more I like him. I think Clemson, there is a reason that Garrett Riley latched onto this kid once he went and watched him throw earlier this spring. I think that's the guy Garrett Riley wanted, and that's the guy they got. And for me, if Garrett Riley wants him and that means he sees something in him that he thinks he can cultivate and develop, I think that speaks volumes. Speaking of Riley, how long does Garrett Riley stay? I think if you have him for 3 seasons, you can consider yourself fortunate. I think Garrett Riley's got head coaching aspirations, no doubt about that. I don't see him being the kind of coach who was going to jump at the first opportunity that comes along, though. So it might just depend on which jobs come open and when. regarding how long he stays. But no, he's. I don't see him being at Clemson long term. If I had to venture a guess at this point, an educated, somewhat educated guess, I would say Kyle Richardson is already being groomed to be the next man up. And similar backgrounds, two very, very bright offensive minds, like-minded individuals. Again, it's just probably going to depend which jobs come open and when. But somebody's going to end up snagging him up. He's not going to be an offensive coordinator very long. He left TCU after 1 year, I think. Yeah, he did. That concerns me about top 2024 offense recruits decommitting if Riley leaves. Well, the 2024 guys are going to be signed in December, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. I don't think he's leaving after year one. It'd be the 2025 guys that I would worry about a little bit more. Knowing the way the coaching staff is with a lot of these guys, though, I guarantee you it's something that's being addressed in some of these conversations they're having with kids. These high school kids, they're smart, they're bright, most of them. They realize Garrett Riley's got head coaching aspirations. That's probably part of the conversation. Again, I think there's a plan in place. It doesn't mean you won't lose people. You very well might whenever he gets ready to bolt. But Clemson absolutely had to have somebody come in and install a new scheme, though, and I don't think you can find anybody better. And that's just a chance you take. I think it's worth the risk. If you look at Riley's resume, he hasn't stayed anywhere after year two. No, he's not been anywhere as an offensive coordinator longer than 2 years anyways. I can't remember before that, but yeah, 2 years is the most as an offensive coordinator. I think he signed a 3-year contract. Obviously, that does not mean he'll be here 3 years, especially if he gets a head coaching opportunity. Don't think we'll see him leave for for another offensive coordinator role. Have to be a head coaching gig. But, if this Clemson offense has success, those calls are coming, man. And they might come after this year. Who knows? But I think if you get through 3 years and he's still here, I think you consider yourself very fortunate. People wanted Brent for years too. Yeah, that's true. Brent's a little bit different of a dude, though. It was always going. Brent turned down multiple head coaching jobs while he was at Clemson. Probably, if it wasn't Oklahoma that came calling, he'd probably still be there. To be quite honest. And I'm still not 100% convinced. I think he's one of the brightest defensive minds. We're going to see if he can get that thing turned around at Oklahoma and what kind of head coach he turns out to be. Not every coordinator is cut out to be a head coach. We'll see if Brent is, but I think Brent Venables is more of the example than the rule. I absolutely would be shocked if Garrett Riley stayed in Clemson that long, man. Yep, Clemson did take care of Brent, absolutely. Brent took care of Clemson too. He earned that money. Without Brent, Clemson might not have turned that corner. It's a big part of that, man. His defenses were fun to watch. Hopefully Wes Gilwin can get them playing back at that level this year. It's got the talent. Make no mistake. July 19th, our next show. Not 100% sure on the location yet. I'm not sure if it's going to be at Dockside again or not. I'll let you know. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. It's taking last week off.
Appreciate all y'all tuning in and talking a little football with me tonight. Go check us out, allclemsontigers.com. See y'all next Monday. Same bat time, same bat channel.